Hello and welcome to Hindsighting, where we discuss all the movies to win the Best Picture Oscar and try to figure out if this picture truly is the best or is time rendered a different verdict. I'm Edward Clown. My guest today is an Emmy Award-winning producer and director. He directed Baby Shark's big movie for Nickelodeon and Paramount Plus. Alan Foreman, welcome back to Hindsighting.
The return champion,
Yes.
I'm assuming.
Returning champ. This episode is part of our mini-series 1981ers, where we examine a single movie from 1981, and today we look at The Great Muppet Caper. It was nominated for one Oscar for Best Original Song, The First Time It Happens. So, Alan, why 1981?
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I went to a video store called Video Pursuit, and it was, a little storefront in a strip mall, and until Blockbuster, but even concurrent with Blockbuster, this was the video store I went to every weekend. And it literally closed almost 30 years ago. Like right when we were finishing high school, it closed I swear to God, March, April of 1996. So it's just, as we're recording this, closed 30 years.
Thank you for making me realize that was 30 years ago.
Yes,
Thanks.
well.
It's a kick in the pants. Thanks, Ed.
That is a kick in the pants, but we're, look at the times we're living in.
Here we are.
But it was interesting, because I remember going there and they were just selling their inventory. So I bought 5 or 6 used tapes for, some ludicrous amount of money, even if it was a deal. But the reason 1981 is so significant to me is because when I first started going there, when I was about 8 or 9, I'd walk through the video store and I'd look at all the beautiful, painted poster art, which is what they were like in the 80s and beyond. And I'd always flip over the back of the box to look at the pictures and read what it was about and to see what year it came out. And it always seemed like every movie came out in 1981. Now I know that's not true.
It's not possible.
It's not possible, but it seemed like I was seeing 1981 more than I was seeing any other year. And the movies were not grouped by year in this video store. So it just seemed like every movie that I was interested in and that I saw in the subsequent years came out in 1981. It seemed like most of the big directors put out a movie in 1981. It seemed like every franchise, including the one we're talking about today, had an installment in 1981. There was a Superman movie, there was a James Bond movie, there was a Muppet movie. I don't even think that's it. So there's really nothing more to it than that. But when I got older and started to see more of these movies, it always just stuck out to me as an undersung movie year. We talk about the great movies. You talk about 1939, 1999. You and I had a very long conversation about 2007, which has become a very storied year. I think even in the moment felt like a big year. But if you listen to our No Country episode, Alan and I talked a lot about just 2007 and
a lot of great movies.
A lot of great movies and how that was the first year, that whole decade, where it seemed like, oh, okay, now we're off and running. And I think there's been 1 or 2 years since then, but I'll save that for when we get to those episodes. So by my count, there are at least 18 to 20 movies in 1981 that are great or really good to great, and only 2 of them got major awards consideration. Now, some, including the movie we're talking about today, would get an Oscar nomination here or there. Some got a Best Actor nomination. Some got a Best Supporting Actor win or something. There was Oscar love, but as far as above the line, Best Picture. And it occurs to me, one of the things that we talk a lot about on the show, we're going to keep talking about, is, do we need more than 5 nominees? And this is a year where I think you could very easily get to 10. You could get to 10 in 1981 without stretching, without making that 9th and 10th it's pretty good. And I think there are other years in the 80s where that's true also. 82 is a very storied year and so on and so forth. So we're doing 1981 just because it has a significance to me. And the movie we're talking about today, The Great Muppet Caper, is the very first movie I saw in the theater.
Oh,
interesting. And I have one memory from it.
Okay.
I only even know that it's the first movie I saw because my mother, late in her life, kind of mentioned it to me. I think maybe I asked her, and she said, oh yeah, the first movie you saw was The Great Muppet Caper, and the lights went down, and you were a little afraid at first, and then you got into it. And my only memory, and this is ephemeral, and I might even be assigning it to another movie, the theater that I saw it at, a theater you might know, it used to be Marina 8, and it became Fashion Island.
Oh, sure.
In
Yeah,
Aventura.
I remember.
So it used to be Marina 8,
Yeah.
and it was Marina 8 until the early 90s. They or maybe even the mid 90s. And they used to have these pink curtains that like these like ruffled pink curtains,
Mhm.
and then the curtains would rise up and the movie would play.
Oh, don't you
And
miss those days?
I kind of do
The
miss it.
grandiosity of,
But this was
"Oh."
this was an AMC theater.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It was This is an AMC theater where you would go and see everything. This was not a specialty house. This is like where you would go. This was the movie theater closest to my house. So it was the local movie theater and it was an AMC. And yeah, so that's my only memory of seeing this movie in the theater, but I watched this movie. I guess my father or somebody had recorded this off TV and we had a tape, but the opening credits were cut off. So it always started with like them
Oh,
climbing out of the balloon. So every time I see the
interesting.
opening credits in this movie, it feels like this
Something new.
like
You're
a
like, "Oh."
prequel. I'm like, oh, cool. Like they shot this whole thing and
Yeah, yeah.
like a director's cut. So let's talk about the Great Muppet Caper, but first a few stats and trivial bits.
Yeah. Lay it on me.
Director Jim Henson did not like the working title for this movie, which was called Muppet Mania, and had various friends, staff members, and relatives suggest titles for the movie. Some of the more interesting titles included The Rocky Muppet Picture Show, A Froggy Day in London, which I think is kind of
I
great.
like that. That's funny.
The
Yeah.
winning title was suggested by 19-year-old Lisa Henson, who came up with The Great Muppet Capade, but also included several alternative choices of words, including escapade, Espagade. I know you're pronouncing that right. Espagade and Caper in her submission. So she came up with it. This is the first movie that Jim Henson ever directed because he did not direct the previous
Right.
one.
Right.
In the opening, Dame Diana Rigg, who plays Lady Holiday, who starred in the James Bond movie on Her Majesty's Secret Service, is leaving a jewelry store that's called Bond.
I didn't catch that.
I didn't catch that, and I'm a huge James Bond fan, and
I
Diana
know.
Rigg happens to be my favorite James
Oh,
Bond
she's
girl of all time.
so smoking.
Yes. Julie Andrews, Elizabeth Taylor, Debbie Reynolds, Angela Lansbury, Petula Clark, and Jane Fonda were considered for the role of Lady Holiday. It grossed $31 million, making it the 9th highest grosser of 1981. So, yeah, let's get into it. Great
Ninth
Muppet
highest.
Caper.
Wow. Okay.
Ninth, yeah, number 9. This was
Number 9.
This was a
Okay.
hit. So, yeah, I'm just gonna start here. I'll start kind of broad. I mean, I wanted you to do this episode because you're a fan, but you also make entertainment for children.
I do. This
And
is true.
this is, I think, my favorite movie for kids.
Interesting.
Movie that's like
Wow.
directed toward
Okay.
kids.
Yeah.
I always like the Muppets. I love Muppet Movie. I love Muppets Take Manhattan. Don't know what order I saw them in. I know I know I saw the next one in the theater. I was much older, so that one I have a
Right.
vivid memory.
Same. I definitely saw Muppets Take Manhattan in the theater.
Right.
But I don't. I like you. I don't recall which of the other two I saw first.
Yeah, and I'm not even if I could because I don't think I knew which order they went in because the Muppets are funny because like at least in these I think in all the movies actually they're like in different they're putting the Muppets in different stories. So it isn't like they're not the same characters they were in the first one. Like they play like reporters in this. They always meet Miss Piggy and then like in the third movie they're kind of all together. So it's a franchise where like they're sort of recasting who the characters are every time, which I don't think any other franchise. I mean, has that been done before or since?
That's a good question, and it actually kind of. I don't know if I should jump right into my biggest criticism of
Go
the
ahead.
movie. Is just that like watching it. I was thinking about the other Muppet movies. I was thinking about the first one, how it's it's a road trip.
Right.
They all meet each other. They all have this ambition of being in showbiz,
Right.
and they are those characters. They are Kermit is Kermit,
Right.
and Fozzie is Fozzie, and so on and so on and so
Right.
on. And in Muppets Take Manhattan, it's kind of like that group who all knows each other and they're all buddies trying to put on
interesting.
a show, trying to hit it big in Broadway. It's Kermit, it's Fozzie, it's Rolf.
So you feel like it's
those
the
guys.
same people in Manhattan that are in the first one?
Yeah,
I never thought about that. I think you're right, though.
It feels that way to me because there's that they're so grounded in who those characters are, whereas this movie takes them out of their normal character cores and sort of drapes a different kind of story around who those characters usually are,
Mhm.
and that felt weird to me.
Huh, that's
It felt
interesting.
weird, like Kermit's not really Kermit, he's a reporter, and
Right.
Fozzie's not really Fozzie. They're reporters and they're twins.
Yeah.
Um, but like it the thing that it lost for me was who those characters really are.
Huh,
So I sort of found myself kind of fighting with wanting to try and see them as these playing these roles.
right.
And obviously there's a lot of fourth wall breaking that happens.
That's in all 3 of them, though, I feel like.
I felt
Certainly
like
in the
it
first
I
one,
felt
does
like it was more heavy-handed in this one,
okay.
but maybe that's just because it's more fresh in my mind because I haven't seen the other ones in a while.
Yeah.
But it just seemed to me like that I was struggling a bit with that. I was struggling a bit with not seeing the Muppets as themselves.
I take your
Yeah,
point.
yeah.
I mean, I take your point that definitely that's interesting. Do you think they're the same characters in the sense that the dynamics are the same, and that Fozzie is still like kind of the doof, and like he's still and Kermit still has like that leadership role, and like yeah, I think I see your point, but I still think that the characters are the same, even if they're like starting fresh.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that they didn't do that in the third one. So
Yeah.
maybe that's something internally that Henson was like, oh, maybe this time let's just pick it up. Not as if Caper didn't happen, but I guess if they're gonna be the same people,
Yeah.
because you can make the case that yeah, like if this movie didn't exist, God forbid, if it just went from Muppet Movie to Manhattan, then it might feel like a more traditional sequel,
More like a natural progression.
right? Like, oh,
Yeah.
these are the same people that got together, and now they're going to
Yeah.
Broadway. I mean, I haven't seen the third one in a long time, so I'd have to. There might be some like specific thing that kind of trips that theory up.
Yeah, I haven't seen that in a minute, so I'd need to check on it. Yeah.
But I guess what I like about this movie, and maybe this is a movie that informed it, is that like this is the kind of movie I would like, even if Muppets weren't in it, because it's like London and like heists and like kind of like
Mhm.
um like intrigue and like twists and turns and so I saw this before I knew what it was sort of parroting.
Right.
And
Yeah.
and I think this is one of those things that's almost like or even musicals, I think this is a great musical. I'm jumping around a bit, but I think this is because all of the I mean the first and the third one have songs, but the songs are performed. It's like, right? Because it's like them performing them in the world of the movie,
Yeah, I think in the
except for Rainbow Connection.
right.
But
I think in the third one there might be maybe one that's performed or two that are performed in the world. This one was definitely felt more like a musical
right, them just
than
breaking out into
yeah,
song,
than the other
but
two
not
did
like they're playing
because there
instruments.
were like showbiz elements to those other movies.
Yeah, and I think as I got older and saw the things they were taking off, I'd be like, oh, that's like, and this, you see my kids do this all the time. Like my kids, my daughter's a huge Simpsons fan, and
Mhm.
then she'll see the thing that Simpsons is ripping on, and she'll be like, oh, this is like the Simpsons, and then but she'll know that this is what the Simpsons is. Um, so yeah, I this movie's always had a special place in my heart. I do take your point about where it is in the sort of the continuum of the franchise, but taking it on its own, um, yeah, let's start with the. I mean, yeah, I think every musical number in this movie really kind of rips.
Yeah,
And the first
yeah.
one,
First one's great.
first one's great. I think it's called "Hey a Movie." I don't. I and it's really catchy. I mean, all these songs are earworms. Like I said, one of these songs got nominated for an Oscar, and I know it's this is the year that the Arthur's theme song wins, which is also a great
I
song.
mean, I
But
can't.
I feel like more of these songs should have
I was
made the
gonna bring
cut.
that up because like the Arthur theme song is pretty tight. I mean,
Yeah, that's fine. I'm not, but I feel like this movie should have gotten at least 2 more song nominations.
yeah.
It should have. I would even argue it could have been. I'm a huge James Bond fan, and the song for Fear Eyes Only is nominated. That song is fine. I would
It's
gladly chuck it.
it's not
for
one of the strongest ones.
Not one of the
but-
strongest ones. I would chuck that one and have 4 songs from this movie, and have Arthur in there. Maybe Arthur keeps its award. But yeah, I think the opening song is so great.
Yeah.
Is so catchy.
And talk about like also a really wonderfully done set piece. Like for Jim Henson's first,
Hmm.
you know, directorial debut is in the feature world. Like, I mean, a lot of moving parts and really
Yeah.
creative use of that small that small
Yeah,
backlot
it's
set.
clearly a soundstage,
Yeah.
but it's interesting because this movie has this really interesting thing where like they're on a lot of sets, but they're also clearly
Mm,
on the streets of London.
mm-hmm.
And they do a lot of interesting sort of like looking at it, with sort of the I'm gonna podcast about it mind. It's really interesting how they really do blend. They're really in London.
Yeah.
And they're like on the streets. And the thing I love about all the Muppet movies where it's like you just see them walking down the street and there's like
Yeah.
cars going by and they're like walking by actual people. And you can speak this maybe better than I could. I mean, they would actually be there like below the camera,
Yeah.
like operating the puppets and speaking. Often it was this. Did Jim Henson operate Kermit as he did the voice?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah. So
so
typically they do.
mhm.
I'm sure they probably have to do some overdubs
Oh,
and
sure, yeah,
ADR down the road, but like that's typically the setup is while they're operating, they are mic'd up
right.
and they're
And this
doing
is
voices.
this is a year after Yoda,
Yeah.
where Frank Oz had to be, underneath like the
Right.
flooring and had like
Yeah.
a bunch of people beneath him. So this must have been like a vacation
Yeah.
compared to
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I would say that I was really enjoying like you said, I really enjoy when they're out there in the real world. And something that always I don't know, just sort of the the magic of it that kind of always amuses me and tickles me is like seeing with the bike riding sequence through the
yeah.
park. Like I'm always like, how the hell do
How do
they
they do
do
it?
that? Like I'm
You,
trying to think in my mind. I'm like, how would I rig that up? How would I make that
no
happen?
CGI,
No
no
CGI.
wire
It's all
removal.
practical. No
Yeah,
wire removal. Clearly, they're doing a lot of radio operated stuff. But dang, like so inventive
it
and
looks so
so
beautiful.
cool.
Yeah,
The only time that kind of backfires is when they're like, there's someone in a Miss Piggy outfit,
yeah.
and it just looks super
It
weird.
just looks weird. I remember being a
Yeah.
kid thinking that looked weird, but not, of course, not having
Right.
any
Right.
way to
Right.
figure that
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that bicycle scenes are great. It's like maybe the best example because you're seeing them in like wide shots and you're
Yeah.
seeing them
Full
ride
body
the bike.
riding bikes, weaving around each other. It's
Yeah, it's
so
amazing. I mean, there's
cool.
probably some incredible outtakes
Yeah.
of like somebody in London driving by with like a ghetto blaster because it was the 80s and like the bike like freaking out and like
Hmm.
sparks flying. There's
Hmm.
probably some incredible outtakes somewhere of like raw footage of just like that going wrong.
Oh,
Like
I'm
who
sure.
knows?
They're
Who
probably
knows?
how many takes it took to get that right.
I never saw the opening credits of this movie
Mm,
until I got the DVD, when I was an adult. And it's funny because it's just like a lot of jokes about the opening credits. It's like
yeah.
very meta. I think the Muppets might be my first experience with something meta,
Right.
without even knowing what
Right.
that word was
Right.
back then. The first thing that kind of commented on itself, but for me never breaks the spell. I think
Right.
all the movies are like that. This might be the most meta because you mentioned there's
It
like a lot of fourth wall
it
breaking in
might
this.
be. The line that really cracked me up rewatching it last night. Now that you were at the age we are, and being in the industry and
Yeah.
stuff. When Fozzie asks Kermit if people actually read these credits, and he says, "Well, sure, these people have families." I was like, that really really got me. I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh yeah."
What I love about Henson, you see the documentary that Ron Howard did, I think last year. It's on
No,
Disney
I
Plus.
missed it.
Well, you should definitely check it out. You would get a big kick out of it. But this doesn't hinge on you having
Hmm.
seen that, luckily. What I love about Henson is that he really is one of those kind of four quadrant artists where I
Mhm.
think the Muppets is like maybe the best example of something four quadrant, despite the fact I really can't get my kids into it.
Hmm.
And I heard that the newest show is very good.
I'm super stoked to check it out. I haven't seen it yet, but
Yeah.
I've heard nothing but really
Like they really got it because
positive
the
things
last
about
couple,
it.
the one they
Yeah.
did 10 years ago, I thought didn't work.
Yeah.
And my daughter actually likes Muppets Christmas Carol a lot, but that's
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
post Henson.
Yeah.
They post Jim Henson.
Right.
And that one's okay, but what I love about the Muppets is that I liked it when I was a kid because I thought the animals were cute. I thought they were funny. But then when I got to be an adult, I'm like, wow, there's like, I won't say double entendres. Like, there's nothing like salacious, but there is humor that would go over a child's head, even though it's not inappropriate.
100%.
Yeah, and I think that's as somebody who has, you know, 2 kids and has to sit through a lot of child programming, you know, it's about them and whether they're enjoying it. But I know not everything can be Pixar
Right.
and or even some of the other animation places. But when it's bad, it's so bad.
Yeah, I
And
know.
it's such
I
a
know.
trial
I
for
know.
poor parents to sit through. And I'll shoot fish in a barrel because I'm not gonna. I took my kids last summer to see the Ryan's World movie. Do you
Oh
even know who
boy.
Ryan
Of
is?
course I know who Ryan
Okay,
is.
well, I wouldn't if I didn't have kids. So, and my daughter, who was already almost 9, wasn't even that into it. My son, who was not yet, he was about 6, really wanted to see it.
Mm-mm.
And this is kind of mean. I might cut this out, but I do have a point. And so I was okay. We went and saw it, knowing I wasn't going to like it. And first of all, the theater was completely empty,
Mhm.
not a soul. This is the second time in my entire life that I sat in a movie theater that was completely empty. Because I kept thinking, oh, it's LA. Someone's
Sure,
gonna
someone's
come in.
gonna roll in.
Someone with their kids is gonna roll in. Somebody. This was like the summer. This was like mid
Even
to late
just to
August.
get some air conditioning and some
Exactly. I like
popcorn. Yeah.
somebody's gonna like wander into this, and no one did.
Oh boy.
And the only other time that ever happened to me, and I told my kids this, not that they're interested, and the listeners might not be interested. When I was in college, I was on a movie review show, and I worked every other week, so I would only have to see. I had 2 weeks to see 3 movies, which was totally
That's
manageable.
that's doable. Yeah.
Yeah. And I had to go see The Odd Couple Part 2, which I was excited about. We're looking forward to because I like the first one. I like Lemon and
Hmm.
Mathau, and this
Hmm.
is like Lemon and Mathau post Grumpy Old Men and
Hmm.
like Out to Sea.
Hmm.
Like their movies were kind of making money, and I went and saw it on like a Tuesday or a Wednesday at like 4 o'clock, and it was totally empty. The movie didn't make any money, but it was totally empty. And again, it was a much smaller room, but I was like sitting there. It was almost freaky. Like if it had
Yeah.
been like a
You're like, yeah,
scary movie,
yeah,
I
this
would
is
have been
making me
afraid.
uncomfortable.
But
Yeah.
I was like, I'll never forget this. I was not yet 20 years old. I was like, this is the first time I've sat in a theater. I've had the experience where I've gone with someone else and we're the only ones in the
Right, but
theater.
just you alone.
Just me
Yeah.
by myself in a 150 room auditorium, whatever
Yeah.
it was, by myself. It was so bizarre.
Well, I will say that, and I know this is not true of all children's entertainment, but as someone who has worked in children's
Yeah,
entertainment for so long,
please.
um, we really try to put in humor for adults because
Yeah,
we know that a lot of times, yes, sometimes kids are just like plopped in front of a thing and they're watching whatever they're watching. The adults can blissfully check out of it.
yeah,
But a lot of the time, you have to be involved and you have to be engaged and you're watching things together, or you want to try and watch things together. So we're always trying to find ways to insert those types of jokes and the type of humor that kids are not going to understand, but it'll at least give the chuckle for the adults so they don't feel like they're just like in one of the circles of hell.
yeah.
But a lot of times it's difficult to get those jokes through because there's all these other corporate concerns.
Sure.
And oftentimes, if you're looking for edits, you're looking for cuts to get something to time, the first thing that goes is a joke, so you don't
Yeah.
mess up the story. So and the Muppets, and thinking about one of the things I was talking to my wife about last night as we were rewatching this movie, we were trying to remember the timeline and the progression of the Muppets. So like
I can help you with that
we
maybe.
we know that I know that Henson was doing um he was doing little puppet shorts on SNL in the very beginning of SNL.
He's in the very first
It's in the
SNL.
very
And
first
it's
one,
so
and it's
weird.
so
It
weird.
does
And
not work.
no, but it's like this weird outsider art
It's
performance
not.
art thing. It's like
Yeah. I'm having trouble releasing my darts. Like that's.
yeah,
It's
it
so
was
weird.
really
I've watched the first
yeah,
SNL
me
when
too.
they put him on Hulu or something. My wife and I years ago we watched the first one,
Hmm.
and it was such. Jason Reitman's movie Saturday Night. I don't know if you've seen it.
Not yet. No.
Kind of. There's I think Nicholas Braun from Succession plays Jim Henson. I think
Mhm.
somebody like that, and they kind of like show. It's like just two cool things that don't go together.
Right.
It's
Right.
just, it's like a peanut butter and peanut butter sandwich, or it's a hat on a hat. And the Muppets, it's not the Muppets, but the
No,
Henson
it's
sketch
Henson
in
sketch, yeah.
SNL does not work.
He did a couple other appearances.
Okay.
Isn't that I think that's where the Phenomena song comes from.
From
Phenomena.
SNL, not the show?
I thought it was SNL. Maybe it's the show. I
I'm
don't know.
not positive. The
But
show is like 2 years later,
but
though.
SNL is 75, right?
Right.
That's
I think
when
the
that
show is
premiered.
77.
I think it's 76.
76.
I think it's
Okay.
76.
Yeah. The show was
So I was
huge.
trying to remember the progression. So
So the
like
show's 76. Okay.
so he was doing stuff before the show,
Uh-huh.
but not necessarily with the Muppets, just
Mm.
like these weird, like we were talking about,
Well,
weird
puppets,
kind of
yeah.
trippy puppet stuff. 76, the Muppet Show happens and
Right.
just like takes off.
Right.
And then 3 years later, 79, the first movie comes out.
Right. And this is 81,
And
the second
this
movie.
one's 81, and then and Manhattan is like
84.
84.
Yeah.
All right.
And then Henson dies in 90.
Right, right.
And I mean, Henson also does, as you know, has a hand in Labyrinth, and
Labyrinth
Dark
and
Crystal.
Dark Crystal. Yeah.
Maybe some other things, but those
Yeah.
are sort of the big ones. Did Henson direct Dark Crystal or no?
I don't recall.
I don't recall. But he has a huge hand in it.
Yeah.
In fact, I think it's sort of like sold as like Jim Henson and Labyrinth.
Oh,
and-
yeah. It definitely is.
Yeah. But I think the SNL thing's interesting because it's like that's something that's just sticking with the puppet sketch that's in that show. That's something that's just like just doesn't work for me, and
Yeah.
it's so weird. It's like a dragon, and he's just like, I mean, he's like, I'm having trouble releasing my darts. Like that's
Yeah.
literally a line from it. But I think that he gets the mixture right in the Muppet Show and the Muppet movie because it's like Dr. Teeth and the band.
Yeah.
That's just all drug humor. Yeah, like all the humor around Dr. Teeth and Zoot and Floyd and Janice, those are all burned up hippies. I think they're even in a van in the first movie.
Oh, yeah. They're 100% a van.
Yeah, so
Mhm.
it's complete. So it's like all that's missing from that is just literal
The
smoke.
yeah.
It's like it's almost Cheech and Chong humor.
It is. Yeah.
But I think that's the thing that you're talking about. Like that's something that like as an adult, you like kids laugh at it because they're funny,
Right.
but the adults, especially young adults, people in the 20s and 30s and the late 70s and early 80s are just like, oh man,
yes,
this is for me.
Stoner comedy.
It's total stoner comedy, but it's funny. Like I don't know if it's in this movie. Which movie is it in? I think it's this one, but correct me if I'm wrong. Where someone says, "I think Zoot skipped a groove," you know, like, and it's just like, and yeah, I mean, the Janice character is just like,
I love Janice.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, you know, like yeah. So I think
She's super Californian.
super
She's
California.
like,
It's like the Californians.
it is the Californian sketch. That's what we were talking about last night. We were watching. We saw Janice, and we both looked at each other and said, "What are you doing here?"
Yeah, it's. I never made that connection. We were at, it's completely the because Henson's not from California. I forget
No.
where he's from, somewhere in the Midwest, I
Yeah.
think. But obviously he came out here in the late 60s. And,
Yeah.
and all the Henson things, my brother told me this thing that he had learned. This is Sesame Street, so it's still sort of Henson adjacent, that he told me this great story that I always think about, that it's like 1969 or 70, and Jim Henson and Carol Spinney got in a cab, and they said to the cab driver, "Will you take us, uptown, sir?" And the guy's like, "Oh, sir, okay." And it was Oscar the Grouch. Like they basically had a cab driver who talked just like Oscar, and they just gave him a unibrow to make him like Groucho Marx. But they just found a dude. They just met a dude for like, I don't know, 20 minutes, whatever the cab ride was, who just talked like that, who was really surly. And they just decided, okay, we're going to make him this green monster. And I just love, and I bet every Muppet character, we kind of came onto it with Janice
I'm
a second
sure,
ago,
yeah.
has like a corollary. And
I'm sure.
And
I'm
I think
sure.
that's what's so great about it. I think that's why I love the Muppets, because even though I don't know the backstory to all of the creations, I think there is one. There's
I'm
gotta
sure.
be one.
Yeah.
They have a story probably for all of them. And I think that's, because I've heard Frank Oz, who of course voices Miss Piggy, just talk about her unearned confidence.
Oh, I mean, her, when we, again, last night when we were rewatching it, my wife and I were talking about how much we love Miss Piggy's attitude, and like really wondered where that came from, because at that time, like that kind of a forceful female presence was
Girl boss.
It was not really
Yeah.
super accepted,
Yeah, it is. I don't know if I want to call it, I mean, I guess we could call it feminist, but it is very, in all three of the movies. This is why I think I kind of push back on your idea that they're not the same characters, because I feel like in all three movies, Piggy is this confident, assertive, you know, maybe even aggressive, or like she's very alpha. She's
Yeah,
always
yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
alpha. Kermit's more, what I'm saying? It's like she's and I doubt that Jim Henson was trying to make some sort of feminist statement, but I think it did pop a little bit for people because there was you started to see some of that in the 70s. You started to see this, but to see it in a kids movie where it probably didn't feel. I mean, there probably are like misogynist men and fathers who are like, "Oh, Miss Piggy's awesome," and like kind of like
Right,
not
right.
not seeing
Because she's silly and
right because it's a pig
the
and it's a
hi-ya and all the
yeah,
pigs. Yeah,
it's a
yeah,
pig in
yeah.
high heels and stuff. So I don't know. I'm not even sure I want to ascribe that like Jim Henson had some kind of subversive agenda because I don't
Mhm.
think he did or progressive agenda. But I think this is something that's kind of missing from a lot of the Muppet stuff that followed after his death.
Mm.
I think that everybody who's carried on the Muppet torch are extremely well intentioned, but I think it's like what's missing is something in the writing and the conception that's missing from the original show and these three movies.
A little bit of that edge and a little bit of that, like,
Yeah,
it feels like it's been watered down or it's just gotten really safe.
I think they just don't know. It's this thing. Somebody said this great thing once. I'd love to attribute it. I mean, maybe a lot of people have said it. It's like they're playing the notes, but not the music.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they're doing everything right, but it's like, okay, but you're not Jim Henson.
Right,
And I
right.
think you could make that you could see that in a lot of things. It's like you could maybe even say that about some of the latter Star Wars movies, like or George Lucas himself losing the touch,
Oh, for
like there's
sure.
something
Yeah.
about those early Star Wars movies, and it could just be that sort of the times that they're that they're made in. But yeah, I think there's something to the characterizations and also the jokes. These movies are just really, really
Oh
funny.
yeah, very funny. Yeah.
And I'm because I get more of it now, I find it funnier now. And I don't know because the thing I'm always sort of wary about is how much work nostalgia is doing. And
Mm.
not just for this movie, but for maybe all these 1981ers or just any old movie. I'm always wondering, like, okay, do I like this because I like it, or do I like it because I liked it when I was a little boy? And I mean, there's definitely nostalgia wrapped up in this. There's no separating that.
No.
But I do think if this were to come out today and I were to go to take my kids to it, I think I would still laugh. I'd have a different relationship to it. I wouldn't have the same emotional relation to it, but I do think the jokes in this movie are really good.
Well, yeah, I do too, and I think the difficulty with nostalgia is, you know, the things that we saw at those ages form your sensibility.
Yeah.
So, like, would you still like it today if it were new today? Yeah, of course, because that's your sensibility has been built by things that are akin to that. So,
Right.
it's like I, I was looking at it's just a quick little side story here.
Sure.
It's funny that you're talking about a specific year of movies because I was just talking with a friend of mine about our, our birth years and like, hey, what he was like, my dad got me a birthday present. He found this like, I guess Conan the Barbarian came out in my birth month, in my
Mm.
birth year, and he got me this like vintage Conan poster for my birthday. And I was like, that's a really cool gift. What a great idea.
Yeah.
I wonder what movies came out my birth year and month. Garbage. All just garbage.
What month
Nothing.
were you born?
May 1978. And
Wait, when in May?
7. May 7.
Oh, May 31st. I don't think I
Yeah.
realized my
Yeah.
birthday was that close to yours.
Yeah. Take
Okay.
a look at the list of movies released in May 1978. It's not good. Actually, 1978 on a whole, kind of a tough year for movies. Not a lot of really good
Superman is a
ones.
great one.
Superman, that's like later in
That's
this.
like
It's a summer movie.
Christmas.
It's it's Christmas.
It's
It's
Christmas.
December.
It was
It's
like
a
the
December
last.
movie. Yeah, that's right.
What is it? So like Deer Hunter, uh,
I don't.
Midnight Express.
There was a lot of.
I think
Not,
it's a weak year.
it's
Yeah.
a very weak year, and I
Yeah.
was like,
Superman is definitely the banger.
yeah, and it just
Super.
made me be like, oh,
What I think is so great about this is that I think Henson had a really deft hand, and Henson and all his writers and this whole creative
hmm
team, they really made this for everybody without compromising. And I think that's got to be so hard as you're talking about to do that when you're when kids are the main, kids are in first position as they should be. I mean, this is a kids movie.
Well, and let's just also acknowledge that the business has changed quite drastically since those days. Like
Yeah.
I don't think kids were seen as such a. I mean, obviously they were seen as a consumer a consumer class because of toys and breakfast cereal and whatnot.
Right.
But I don't think at that time franchises weren't really that big of a deal for. I mean,
No, there were a few. I mean,
there were, but it wasn't.
this year the 12th James Bond movie comes out, but that's really the only
Well, but
like
that's I'm
long
talking about
running
like
one.
kids franchises. We're
No,
not
there
like
wasn't anything. This is one of the first ones,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
I think. I mean, there were, but I mean, it's hard to tell because there's always like flipper movies and Benji movies and things
sure,
like that.
sure, yeah,
But
yeah,
those are so out of fashion even by this point. So yeah, it's yeah. I mean, what I think is so great about the '80s to kind of pull out
hmm
wide for a second is that, and I said this in you haven't been on this season yet as far as the '80s, but I talked
hmm
about in the very first episode, just in talking about the best picture winner, just the '80s in general,
hmm
is that I think every genre is really strong, and I think there's something for everyone. Like you've got great kids movies. This is the best decade ever for action movies. This is the best decade ever for comedies. This is a great decade for horror. This is a
Oh my God,
great decade for drama. Just adult drama. So there's so many movies for grown-ups in this time, and there's things for kids. It just feels like every genre, with the exception of musicals and westerns, but musicals and
right?
westerns die and they come
Yeah,
back and they die and they
yeah,
come back, and they just happen to be pretty dead in the '80s.
yeah.
It just happened to be, you know, there's like one Clint Eastwood western, Pale Rider,
hmm
which is good. It's not as good as his other ones, but but those genres always are dying and coming back, and we've seen it just in the last couple of years. It
Yep,
die and come back and die
yep,
and come back.
yep.
And I think in the '80s, all these genres are being very well served, and they're all coming from major studios. That's the
Right.
craziest thing, is that like there's independent film is going on, but it's very nascent. It's not till like mid-decade that we're getting Jim Jarmusch and Spike Lee, and I mean independent movies are just like they're so granola. There's no Sundance yet. I mean Sundance,
Right.
I take it back. Sundance starts this year. It starts in
Oh, in
81.
81.
80 or 81. That's what Redford's doing in
Mm,
between Ordinary People and the Natural. But we don't hear about Sundance until Sex Lies,
right,
which is 89.
right. That's a
Eh,
pretty that's a pretty
right, it's 8 years into
long
it.
away yet.
But
Yeah,
after
yeah,
that, the very
yeah.
next year, Hollywood is at Sundance, and then
Right,
from then on, pretty
right.
steadily, movies that come out of Sundance are sometimes winning Oscars and,
Yeah.
and crossing over. So I think the '80s, my thesis for this season is sort of like I think the '80s is kind of underrated. It's looked at as unserious. I would fall to my knees. I would fall on my knees and thank God if we had this big a variety,
Oh,
like this much genre stuff for adults. I mean, there's just so many movies I could think of that are like just for adults that made money and that studios got behind because they also knew they had other things also. And now, there's just so few things for adults. I don't want to get negative here on a Muppet themed show, but unto itself, I just think this is so smart. I just feel like Henson had such a magic touch of I don't know if you can make a child laugh and his parent and their parents laugh, even if it's happening on different levels. I think that's kind of a magic trick. And
hmm
I won't say that doesn't happen anymore. I mean, obviously, I don't know. Am I being lazy and saying that like Pixar is the best at that, or am I just being too narrow? Or
I think I would say that they're maybe the best in recent history
that's what I'm saying.
at that. Close,
Yeah,
close
I'm
to. I
saying
mean,
in the recent
in
years.
recent years, yeah,
Yeah, I'm not
yeah,
saying they're the best
yeah,
ever, but I'm saying as
yeah.
far as like if I'm taking my
As
kids
far
to
as like commercial movies that are being,
right,
that are in theaters, that are big,
right.
big releases that you take your kids to, yeah,
Yeah,
probably.
I just know if I'm taking my kids to see a Pixar movie, I don't hold all Pixar movies in the same light. I just know that, like, okay, there's going to be an honest attempt. Like, let me ask you this, and we'll
Sure.
get back to the Muppets because I'm
Yeah.
sitting here with someone because I I'm sitting here with somebody who's far more expert in this than I am. What do you think of the state of children's entertainment today? Is that way too broad a question, or
Oh, I mean, it's how long do you
I
have?
have as long as I have as long as you need. I'll take some more wine
Oh
though.
yeah. Here,
Um,
hand the glass over.
I'll
There
take
we
as
go.
we'll take a little wine break here.
Yeah. Talk amongst yourselves,
Talk amongst
everybody. There
yourselves.
you
Rafe Fiennes' name is neither pronounced Rafe nor Fiennes. Discuss.
go.
Yeah, is if that's a crazy broad question. I'm
No,
sorry.
no, no, it's fine. I think there've just been a lot of changes in the last 10 to 15 years, and it's the same thing that's affecting the movie industry and the entertainment industry as a whole, which
Right.
is just how people consume media and
Right.
how kids consume media.
Yeah.
And the thing that's really frightening to me today is the precipitous decline in attention spans
Yeah.
amongst the younger generations and the kids coming up now. And I've noticed this even you know with people's kids I know, and my nephew as well. Like, I used to sit and watch whole half-hour episodes of a cartoon with him when he was real little, before he got any sort of access to tablets and phones and apps and things like that. But now, when I see him, one of the things he'll say to me, he'll run over and he'll say, "Open up YouTube on your phone. Let's just watch shorts. Let's just flip through the shorts." And that's like, don't you want? I mean, I get it. Sometimes they're funny, and it's quick, digestible, short format stuff. That's fine. I'm not against short format stuff, but to me, it's just like really tearing people's ability to, or children's ability to dig into a longer format story in a way that I find very troubling. And then that, because of that, now the the larger studios that make children's entertainment are trying to figure out how do we compete with the short format stuff that's on YouTube that everyone's watching and has immediate access to. So, I have worked on projects. I think I'm safe to say that I've worked on projects that were in development that were initially intended to be half-hour shows, 15-minute shows. Uh, and over the course of developing, have asked to shorten those run times. Let's make the 15-minute show a 7-minute show. Let's make the 22-minute show a 12-minute show, because everyone's trying to compete with that, just, the instant dopamine hit of getting content fast and moving on. So that's sort of like my biggest concern right now with the children's entertainment space. But then again, I'm working on a project now that has a normal runtime. So, you never know. But again, the project I'm working on now leans a little bit older, but I was surprised to find out that they're going for like a kind of standard runtime. I was like, wow. So there are still people
So it's
doing
what,
that.
22 minutes then?
Yeah, like close to half hour. Yeah.
I'll throw a counter at you, and this is fresh. This is like hot off the presses.
Yeah.
So my son, just 3 hours ago, 4 hours ago, he asked
Mm.
me to watch um Five Night Five Nights at Freddy's. And the movie doesn't matter so much, but what was interesting is, which is a little older for him.
Mm-hmm.
It's PG-13. My son is 7, and you know, we were worried that it'd be too scary. It wasn't. But what was interesting, I think this is sort of, and I don't want to base the whole world on my son, like your theory. I
Yeah.
think you're right,
Yeah.
but just maybe there's some hope, is that my son wanted to watch this movie because he had watched a ton of shorts, like
Mm-hmm.
clips from it. And I sat next to him for 100 minutes. We watched the whole thing straight through.
Mm.
And he knew a lot of it. So it's almost the inverse of what you're talking about. I'm
Yeah.
not saying this
Right.
this
Right.
disproves your
Right.
theory. I just don't think that my son is unique. And he watched a bunch of shorts and decided he wanted to watch the full movie
Right.
that was the shorts were comprised of. Um, I do think you're right, but I just wanted to throw a little bit of sunshine,
No, I
because
love
I
that.
literally just went through this experience. Because one, I thought he'd be too scared of the movie, we have to turn it off, and he was telling me things about the movie because he'd seen all these clips, but he sat and he watched the whole thing, and this was a movie that was too old for him. I mean, it was PG-13, but it was not catered to a 7-year-old.
Right.
I would argue it probably wasn't even catered to a 13-year-old. It might have
No,
been catered
probably
to like
not.
maybe like a 16-year-old.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, this movie tonally was very strange. I don't want to pot about it, but I'm just saying my son watched a feature length movie that was 100 minutes, 105,
Right,
like not
right.
2 hours, but
That's great.
longer. So and this just happened 4 hours ago.
I think that's great,
And
and
he
that
wanted to
that
watch the
is
second
encouraging.
one,
Yeah,
and he would have
yeah,
sat and watched. If I
yeah.
permitted it this late, he would have sat and watched the second one. I think he would
Yeah.
have watched it all the way through. Now that could be that it's illicit fruit to him, and but at the same time, he is able. I could take him to movies like he loves Wicked. That's 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
He loved Wicked for Good. That's I think about the same. I took him to see The Incredibles 2
Mm-hmm.
at the Academy Museum, which I think he had seen. He watched the whole thing. So and my daughter's the same way. She's a little older. She's 10. So I don't know. I think everything you're saying is absolutely right. And you're certainly in a
Yeah,
position to know.
yeah.
Maybe I'm saying this to make myself feel better because to throw a little rain on it, I haven't seen the movie, but in doing press for this movie, The Rip with Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, I haven't
Mm-hmm.
seen the movie yet, so I won't comment. But I think Matt Damon said something to the effect of Netflix is always trying to get you to reiterate exposition
Yeah, yeah.
because
I
people are
heard him
looking
say
at
about
their
that. Yeah,
phones.
right.
There's this thing I love. I don't know who said it. I love to credit the person where and there's a writer who gets notes. I just found this hilarious where somebody said like, "Is that a plot hole or were you just looking at your phone?"
Yeah, yeah,
And I always think
yeah.
about that. It's just like someone saying something doesn't make sense. I'm like, no, that makes sense. You just weren't paying attention. Like this was covered. Um, but
Well,
I think this is sort of a bedfellow of what you're talking
yeah,
about.
yeah, yeah. And I think the other thing that's kind of hurting or is a challenge in the children's entertainment space right now is that there seems to be less of an willingness to take risks
Yeah,
now, which is again like this is something that the entire entertainment industry is struggling with and has been for the last 10 to 15 years.
yeah, risk aversion.
And I see it all the time in the children's entertainment space. I don't think a Muppets could get made now if it was a brand new
Why
pitch,
not?
because I think it would be too much of a risk. It would. Um, People seem, and I'm seeing this happen all the time in my immediate circle, is that it's very very difficult to get an original idea um, greenlit and off the ground.
Right.
So even like, um,
And even this isn't original because this is based on a popular show.
right.
So I mean, the
I
show is
mean,
original,
right,
but
right.
this isn't even such a risk because obviously this
Right.
one's a sequel.
The
But even the
sequel,
first movie was a very popular show, so it was IP.
right, right,
So that was
right.
still
But
going
like
on.
if you do, yeah, I'm saying like if you pitch the Muppet Show today, a
Right.
brand like it had never happened before, I think
Okay,
it
yeah.
would be a much harder sell.
Yeah, I mean anything original is hard, and that's certainly something, you know, that's certainly something that I bitch about, and that we're all kind of bitching about because it's like,
Right.
you know,
It makes it difficult for creators to create,
yeah, and it's so funny because you hear I'll just go like super almost generic with this example, but I just read this great book called The Last Kings of Hollywood, which is about Coppola, Spielberg, and Lucas,
Right.
and which I highly recommend. Um, More for the anecdotal information that's in there that I didn't know, but it covers the thing that we know that how like nobody wanted to make Star Wars,
Right.
and of course Star Wars became the biggest movie of all time, and Star Wars is still with us. And I always kind of want to say to executives like, original ideas are just Star Wars that you haven't met yet.
Right.
Like you're gonna run out of IP, just like we're
Right.
running out of oil and we're running out of
Right.
water.
Yeah.
It's really the same thing.
It's a finite resource.
It's a
Yeah.
finite resource. Even if you're going to get to a point where you're going to be going to IP that's so obscure that no one cares about it anyway. Like we've seen some IP things sort of
Oh,
fail
for sure.
because people don't care about it. Like
Yeah.
they did, and I haven't seen it, so I can't comment directly. But they redid Charlie's Angels again,
Mm.
and no one went and saw it. And the movie could be good. I won't comment on it. But the thing is, it's like nobody has a relationship to Charlie's
Right.
Angels.
Right.
I mean, I've never seen an episode of Charlie's Angels, so when the Cameron Diaz one came out, I saw it, but I was like, okay, I don't know what this is a takeoff on.
Mm,
I never saw an episode of Mission Impossible either, but I love Brian De Palma, and that movie worked on its own merits.
did, yeah.
And I forget that there even was a show.
Yeah.
Now I just think that I have to remind myself that the Brian De Palma movie from 1996 was not where it originated.
No.
Um,
Yeah.
so IP is nothing new, but I mean, yeah, there's a finite amount. If you thought about it, like oil or water,
Yeah. I
you're,
mean,
you're
how many A Star Is Borns are we going to make?
right. But A Star Is Born, yeah. But A Star Is Born is like I look at that a little bit differently because
I know it's just remakes.
no, it's remakes, and there's like 40 years between each of them. But that's almost like I'm not making a literal comparison. That's like doing like a play like Hamlet. Like, okay,
Right,
what's your take
right.
on A Star Is
Yeah,
Born?
yeah,
Okay, so Bradley
yeah.
Cooper said, okay, it's A Star Is Born, but I'm gonna do it this way.
Right.
I'm gonna make it about like pop music and country, which I guess the one before was sort of about. But
Sort
yeah,
of, yeah. Mhm.
that's 40 plus years between Stars Borns. It's a much bigger deal where they're like, you know, I mean, we don't have to rattle off the examples, but yeah, I think the Muppets is something that if we never seen it before, it would be relegated. It would be dismissed as a children's entertainment, which it is because it's talking animals. And also, we don't see puppetry anymore.
No, you don't
I mean,
really
that's
see
something.
puppetry anymore.
I mean, Team America, which is over 20 years ago,
yeah,
but that was almost like the conceit of that movie. It's like, oh, we're gonna do it with puppets. Isn't that weird? I like that
I
movie,
love that movie. Yeah, it's
but
great. Well, but I think that's I don't know something I love about the Muppets is they're and this is something that I think a lot of children's entertainment tries to achieve is just they're evergreen. These
absolutely
characters they never grow old.
no.
They're always the same character you always have known and loved, and every time you see them, there's that friend that you always enjoy hanging out with. So, I mean, and just like they another thing I really love about the Muppets is they embrace silliness
Yeah.
and zaniness,
Yeah.
and they have such a broad palette of characters that pretty
Yeah.
much anyone can find a Muppet that they feel like really speaks to them or represents them in a
Who's
way.
your favorite?
We were talking about this last night, and I feel like I always gravitated towards Gonzo and Animal,
Okay.
and I forget the guy's name. Who's the guy who throws the boomerang fish? What the
Oh,
hell's his name?
is he in this movie?
He is Joel, like
At the very end in the
at the
Mallory
very
Gallery.
end, and yeah.
Oh,
at
what
the
is
very
his
end.
name?
I always forget his name, but I
Let's
always
Google this because this is gonna.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Let's see.
that's gonna make me nuts. It's not Crazy Harry, because that's the guy who blows stuff up. I don't think he's in this movie.
New
Oh.
Zealand. Is
New Zealand?
that what his name is?
Oh man. Okay.
His name is New Zealand.
Okay. I
A
don't feel
vaudeville
bad.
performer who forces his way onto the Muppet Show and refuses to leave.
Okay, so he's probably like a kind of a Gong Show thing where he like is not talented and like wants to get on the. Okay. I don't feel bad for not knowing it, but I know who you meant.
I just love the inanity of like throwing a boomerang fish. It's so dumb, but it
Well, I
makes me
remember in the
laugh.
third movie he goes to the 3D. It's kind of its rip off like Jaws 3D
Yeah,
or
yeah,
Creature
yeah,
of the
yeah,
Black
that's right,
Lagoon, and
that's
he's like he
right.
throws it into the
Yeah.
and so it comes out at people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean I've always loved Fozzie because Fozzie is just like this big dad joke,
Mm-hmm.
and I always like he has the GIF I may post when I post this episode is I love Sam the Eagle.
I love.
He's
Sandy.
like, "You are all weirdos," and then I love like after a big speech he goes, "I'm proud to be an American," and then he just like walks out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I always like Rolf. I mean, I like all these characters.
I mean, Waldorf and Sadler are great. Like
Statler and Waldorf. I think what's funny. I think Statler and Waldorf might be in a weird way the most sort of like totemic and like memeable Muppets
Yeah.
because I think like two assholes who are just like commenting on stuff. They're like the internet before the internet.
yeah.
I mean, they really, and I know they go back to the show because like that's
Yeah.
why they're always sitting in the balcony because
Balcony,
they always
yeah.
cut to them and they kind of pop up in all the movies. But I think Statler and Waldorf is like might be the most in a weird way the most endearing legacy of the Muppets. I don't know. You think I'm off base there?
No, I think it's great.
Because
I
it's
love
like
those guys.
because I think that's the internet. That's like
Yeah.
these two smart asses commenting
Yeah.
on like, oh, this is stupid.
Yeah.
So getting into the movie a little bit.
Yeah.
Just I think the next song we see is the Happiness Hotel song. I mean, it's again like it's a funny song and the set piece is funny, but the song is also really
Song is
catchy.
very good. Yeah.
Like I really do feel like the I think this is one of the best musicals. I really do. I'm not a musical student. I'm going to kind of recuse myself a little
Yeah.
bit. There are musicals I like. I'm not a student of it, but I just feel like as a musical, if you were to like just look at this as a musical, I think it's really one of the best ones.
Yeah.
I don't have a list. I think my favorite musical is probably Singing in the Rain. I have to really think about it. And again, I'm
Yeah,
not an
I
expert.
like a lot of the old musicals from like the golden era there.
Yeah,
Like
that's why
a
I
lot
think
of those
Singing
are
in the
really
Rain, which
good.
I saw very late. I was in my 30s when I saw it. 30, 32, whenever I saw it. I think my wife, had the either it was on TV or she had the DVD, and I watched it, and I was like, yeah, I'd seen, of course, Singing in the
Sure,
Rain,
sure. Yeah.
but I feel like the musical is probably the most maligned genre, and we lived through that. Like when La La Land came out, which I liked and was a big hit, the backlash was so immediate.
Yeah.
It was just like, "Oh, this movie's stupid," and da 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 da. Like you see, it's like the musical is like such a big fat target for people not to
I
like.
have mixed feelings. I for the most part dislike musicals, but there are some that I really enjoy.
And
And
I feel the same way.
I like this movie. I love the songs from Manhattan, Muppets Take Manhattan. Like
Yeah,
that end the
the wedding.
performance they put on at the end,
Oh
like
yeah,
every song in that
yeah.
is just like banger, 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 banger.
And that's how I
They're
feel
all
about this
hit.
movie. I
Yeah.
think every song in this movie. There's one I want to get to. It's coming up
Yeah.
later
Yeah.
that I think doesn't fit with the rest of the movie, but I do think
Mhm.
it's an interesting song. You
Mhm.
might even know the one I'm talking about. We'll get to it in a few minutes. But yeah, the Happiness Hotel song is it's just so great, and it is telling a story. It's just
Yes.
lyrically,
Yeah.
it's I think the thing about musicals that's tough is that like it's got to be great lyrically, and it's got to be the music has to be great, and you also have to like what you're seeing on screen. This might be
Yeah. Yeah.
painfully obvious, like great insight,
Well,
Ed,
it's like
but
I mean
but I don't know. Just thinking about it now, it's like
but
it's just
also a
doing
lot
all
of
those
times
things.
it does some exposition lifting to like there's story that's happening that
Yeah,
we're getting background or we're getting from point A to point B.
or
So it
emotionally, what's
or
going on with the
emotionally what's happening.
characters.
So
Yeah.
it has to function on a lot of different levels.
And I think every song in this movie does that, and I think
Yeah.
all the great
Yeah.
musicals, whatever they are, I'll
Mhm.
just go Singing in the Rain because it's fairly
Mhm.
it's an uncontroversial take. I think that does it, and I think that West Side Story is another one I like, both
Yeah.
versions, and that
Great.
does it really
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Again, I don't have this list, and maybe it's a list I should make on Letterbox, but I also think I'm also light on musicals. I mean, there's a lot of big ones I haven't seen.
Yeah.
So I'm not, it's one of the few genres I'm just not that educated in. So yeah, I love, we talked about Sam a minute ago. I think it's at the end of that song where he
Yeah.
goes, "You're all weirdos."
Yeah. You're all weirdos. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think Sam the Eagle is such a great character because it's like Statler and Waldorf. He's just like sort of the like
Like the
establishment.
adult in the room who's
Right.
like, ugh.
'Cause this feels very four quadrant to me.
Yeah.
This is obviously something that plays everywhere, and I think there's something kind of beautiful about that. I don't think Henson. I don't know the man's politics. I can imagine he was very liberal, but I don't think he was. I mean, we're also more divided. Not to bring politics into it, but it's like it hangs over everything we live and say and
Yeah, I
breathe,
know.
and
Yeah.
it, it, I feel like this is a movie for everyone, and that's not something I could say about most of my favorite movies. There are
Mm-hmm.
some movies I could say, "Oh, that's for everyone." There's something for everyone. But there are a lot of movies. I mean, look, the movies that we're recording this right before the Academy Awards,
Mm.
and I don't I really liked One Battle After Another and Sinners. I don't think those movies are for everyone. And that's not a
No.
criticism of them.
No, no.
But I don't think someone MAGA could watch One Battle After Another and like it. And I
Probably
think
not.
and that's okay. But I also think that same person wouldn't like Sinners for a lot of the same
Yeah.
reasons.
Yeah.
And I don't think those people have to be catered to. But I do think if I were to go into a MAGA rally and start talking about the Muppets, there'd be
Yeah.
common ground.
Yeah. I think
Um,
most people like we were saying, most people have a Muppet, you
Mhm.
know? Most people can identify with a Muppet.
or people of a certain age. I mean, I'm curious to see how the show that they're doing now. It's new. I would love for it to connect with young people, and I'm not saying it hasn't. I just don't know. I definitely want to show it to to my daughter. My daughter loves Sabrina Carpenter, so it's like she's kind of
Oh,
the
right.
gateway.
Yeah.
And that's what the Muppet Show had like big stars on
Oh,
it. It was like
all the
SNL.
time. Yeah.
Somebody would host it,
Yeah.
like Roger Moore or Elliot
Yeah.
Gould or Christopher Reeve, you know. And I mean, it's funny because like he was sort of like mocked on SNL, meaning behind the scenes, but he kind of figured out his own variety
Yeah.
show,
Yeah.
and it was much more like Laugh-In or something. It was
Yeah.
much more four quadrant. SNL's not four quadrant. It's
No.
on 11:30 on Saturday nights. Um, so this is the first movie I knew Diana Rigg from.
Oh,
This is before I knew that she was in a James Bond movie, and so she's Lady Holiday to me until I see her
interesting.
as Teresa
Yeah. Yeah.
Vincenzo,
Yeah.
aka Mrs. Bond. And I think I guess I want to talk a little bit about the humans in this movie.
Oh, I really want to talk about the humans.
So
in
we
this
have
movie. Yeah.
two actors. I may know Charles Grodin for this or from Seems Like Old Times, which is the year before, but I didn't see that in the theater. So forgetting the order, Seems Like Old Times and the Great Muppet Caper is a 1-2 punch of Grodin. And
Well, but also that same year, The Incredible Shrinking Woman, he was in.
oh, is that the same year?
With Lily Tomlin's 81.
Oh, wow.
Which I remember him from that as well. So I
Okay.
think these two movies were my first Grodins.
Yeah, and let's talk.
I love Grodin.
I love Grodin too. Let's talk about him because
Yeah.
like he's such a specific flavor, and I think he's kind of a 101. I don't know. Like I don't know if there's anybody. I'm not saying there isn't, but like he's such an interesting screen persona because I think he is a persona. I think he's a
For
good
sure.
actor, but I don't think he's a chameleon. This is a
No.
weird comparison, but I talked about this in the Crash episode, not having to do with Crash, but we were talking. Billy Corbin and I were talking about Robert Downey Jr.
Mm-hmm.
And I compared Robert Downey Jr. to Sam Rockwell, who's a contemporary.
Yeah.
I think they're both good actors, but I think they're also a type, meaning that like I think Rockwell is more chameleonic, but he still does these things that Rockwell does. And I think that I guess Grodin's kind of close to Robert Downey in that he's a very good actor, but he's not somebody who can play anybody. He's not a chameleon. He's not Daniel Day-Lewis, or I'll just go Daniel Day-Lewis.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that he has a certain screen persona that he brings to every role. Does that make sense?
Of course, yeah. I mean, we got taught again last night watching with my wife. We got talking about Grodin, and my favorite Grodin movie is Midnight Run.
Yeah, mine too.
And so I started talking about it, and she said that she hadn't seen it. So immediately after we finished
no
Caper,
way.
we put on Midnight Run.
Did she like it?
She loved it. Yeah.
Yeah. Midnight Run is an amazing
But
movie.
the thing he does so well is that just like very dry, very wry, very earnest.
Yeah.
The thing he did, what I really loved about his performance in Caper, and I hadn't seen it in a while, is like he is all in.
Yeah.
Like it's the fact that he just really goes for it.
Yeah.
Is just, I love it. I love that he did that.
Yeah, I mean, he's interesting because Midnight Run's I think it's his best performance also. I think that have you ever seen The Heartbreak Kid?
Yes, I have seen The Heartbreak
So
Kid.
Heartbreak Kid, for people
I
who
know
don't
that
know,
one. Yeah.
we're on a real tangent. It desperately needs a Criterion Blu-ray or just a decent Blu-ray because it's way out of print. But with The Heartbreak Kid is a fascinating movie where Charles Grodin marries this woman and on the honeymoon decides he can't stand her, and then he meets Sybil Shepherd, who's obviously this young, gorgeous woman, and then has an affair with her. And it's a really interesting movie. It's kind of out of print, but that's like the first like sort of Charles Grodin kind of leading man. And he pops up in Catch-22, the Mike Nichols movie.
That's right.
And his character does not go where you think it's going to go if you know Charles Grodin.
Yeah.
But all through the 70s, he's in these movies playing very sort of affable or bungling kind of. I mean, this character, it's weird. It's like it's kind of against type because he's playing like kind of a moron, kind of like I mean, it's weird. Like he's He feels like
he's like a nepo baby
he's a
kind
nepo
of
baby, spoiled
spoiled
brat.
brat.
He's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
he's like obviously he's the villain in this.
yeah,
He looks so much younger because he's wearing a hairpiece
yeah.
and like he like leaned out. Like he looks probably 10 years
Super thin.
younger
Yeah,
than he is. Because if you look at him in King Kong, a movie I
I
love,
love him in King Kong
yeah,
too. Yeah,
which is probably like the least Grodny performance because he's playing like this kind of bombastic character.
yeah,
He's terrific in it. But if you look at him in King Kong, where he's going bald and he's like 15 or 20 pounds heavier, and you look at him in this is 5 years later, he just looks so much like more youthful. And like he's really embodying this character who's like playing an idiot, but he's secretly like this mastermind criminal,
right,
who kind of doesn't like his sister. But yeah, he's terrific in this. And again, yeah, you're right. He's all in. And yeah, I mean, I think I like the adults the best in this movie compared to the other two on either side of it, which they're fine. I feel like in the first movie, like it's just a lot of cameos, like
yeah,
Steve
yeah,
Martin and Elliot Gould and
yeah,
so on and so forth. And the third movie has cameos, but there's like the Jenny character and then
yeah.
the what's his name, Lenny or whatever. Like they're fine, but I feel like as far as like you've got two actors in this that are overqualified, in the best possible way. Grodin being the
I
best
think you
one.
have more than two.
Who else? Who am I forgetting? Oh, Jack Warden.
John Cleese,
John
Jack Warden,
Cleese.
and my personal favorite cameo in this movie, Peter Falk.
Peter Falk. I want to get to him because yeah. So the Peter Falk one. Well, let's just go to it now because you brought it up. When I was a kid, that part I didn't understand how funny that was.
It's so fucking
and my
funny.
father used to misquote
funny.
it.
Yeah.
But the part my father quoted, even though he misquoted, was he always did. Peter Falk goes off on this long, long rants about dry cleaning and your cousin,
Who
your
he
brother
thinks
Bernie.
Kermit is, yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
And he
yeah.
goes, that is 100% wrong. Not one thing you said has anything to do. Like, it's really ballsy for this movie to kind of like slam on the brakes and like let Peter Falk. I mean, maybe this was scripted, maybe it wasn't. I can't speak to that. But like, it's such the commitment to the bit, which kind of sums up this movie. Like this movie is just the commitment to bits is absolute.
Yeah, and then he just at the end of it, he's just like, "Want to buy a watch?" I'm like, it's so funny, the whole spiel he does, and he acts it so brilliantly as only Peter Falk can with this like real authenticity and just like real man on the street kind of. My God, that was for me. That's like, I think hands down best cameo.
But when you were a kid, you probably were bored by it or didn't understand
I didn't remember it.
I remembered it and not understanding what he was talking about because I just didn't know what a dry cleaner was. I didn't know what a brother. I just didn't understand any of it. I think that's like maybe the biggest risk this movie takes because that's something that's definitely for adults.
Yeah,
that's something that no kid.
No,
no kid
with
no
kid.
Oldest kid.
No.
Even if you were a kid old enough to understand what's going on, you're like, why is this in this movie? We got to talk about Diana Rigg.
Oh my God. Yeah,
Diana Rigg is so funny in this movie and is, I think, also as committed, maybe not as committed as Charles Grodin, but I think her character is very knowing. Like she knows what she's doing. And this is what I knew her from. And then when I saw On Her Majesty's Secret Service, which is 12 years before this, she's widely considered the best Bond girl. And I'm not saying best isn't like the most beautiful. Right. She's certainly very beautiful, but if you're not a Bond person, I still would say On Her Majesty's Secret Service is a Bond movie you should check out because there is no Christopher Nolan Batman without On Her Majesty's Secret Service. It is the best example of how to do IP seriously, but not have it collapse under the weight of its own miserability. So if you like Batman Begins and Dark Knight, Nolan would be the first one to tell you On Her Majesty's Secret Service was his lodestar. And if you look at Inception, there's the whole ski chase in Inception that. But Diana Rigg was on a show my father loved called The Avengers. Nothing to do with the Avengers that we know them today.
The
British Avengers.
The British Avengers,
played a character called Emma Peel. I've never seen this show. I've seen clips of it. Diana Rigg is just fantastic because she's just like, I mean, Diana Rigg goes all the way to Game of Thrones. She played,
that's right.
What was your character's name?
That's what my wife knew her from. She was like, what do I know her from?
Game of Thrones. She died only a few years ago, but I mean, I think it's incredible that Diana Rigg runs that gamut from like early to mid 60s TV to Bond to the Muppets to Game of Thrones and everything in between. And really is just like one of the best examples of just like sexy, cool English actress that like, you know,
I definitely felt like she kind of played it a little more cartoony, for lack of a better
she's
term.
playing it super posh.
She's
Like
playing it.
she's playing it
She
up. Like
she
she's
is playing
playing.
it up.
Yeah, I think she's playing to the register that Charles Grodin is.
Yeah.
I mean, I think she understands the assignment. I think
Yeah.
Lady Holiday,
Yeah.
even the sound of her voice is like, that's it, girls, go
Yeah,
along. You
yeah.
know, like she's definitely like playing it super posh, and she's playing it up a little bit. And that's why I think, yeah, I mean, that's why I like this Muppet movie the best, because I feel like it's just firing on all cylinders. Because the Muppets are
Mhm.
always good, but I also like the story in this is good. It's like it's a real cool caper. It's like it's got a it's this is like the most plot heavy one. I don't think it's convoluted. I don't think it's hard to follow, but like it's like a really cool caper. It's like these jewels are stolen. Piggy's framed for it. You know, her brother is in on it. I'm not saying it's like, oh my god, I mean, obviously, I can't look at this objectively. I don't know
Yeah,
if I'm watching
yeah,
this as
yeah,
an adult for the
yeah.
first time, how unpredictable it is. I would wager it isn't. I think it's telegraphing. I mean, we see, I think in the beginning, you know, Charles Grodin says, and me, you know, like we know
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
him.
we
Like
know it's him.
they're not trying
Yeah.
to make a twist out of the
No.
fact that like Nikki Holiday is
No,
is,
no, no,
is
no,
the
no.
bad guy.
No. And I don't know if I don't want to really get into tearing apart the plot of a Muppet
It's
movie.
irrelevant
It's
in a
irrelevant.
way.
It's kind of doesn't
But
matter.
the
Uh,
atmosphere I think is really cool. I
yeah.
think setting this in London, because they shot the Muppet Show. I don't know if you know this. They shot it in London
Yeah.
or in England, so that might have just been a practical thing of like, oh, I'll use this same crew, or
We're here
facilities.
anyway. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
I don't know if
yeah.
I think the Muppet Show's still running. I don't know how long it went for. I think it's still running for the first two movies. I think, right?
I forget.
I think it's still going on. I know
I
it's
think it
done
is.
by
I think it
3.
is. I
by,
think it
by
is.
Manhattan,
I
the
think
show.
it's still going on.
So it might have been as simple as just like, hey, we'll use the same stages,
Right.
or we'll use the same crew. It might have been a kind of a more like logistical consideration. But the previous episode, worth noting, we covered an American Werewolf in London, which is London in 1981, and this is London in
Right.
1981.
Right. Yeah,
So
yeah.
I don't think I planned that, but I think it's you know, it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool seeing like, you know, Thatcher London, and we're gonna cover later in this series the James Bond movie For Your Eyes Only, and that's again London,
Right.
1981. At least in the
81.
beginning, the
Yeah.
cold open is in
Right.
London. You know,
Right.
Bond never spends that much time in London. But yeah, I did like the Muppet movie from 2011 that Jason
yeah.
Segel did.
I did too.
I want to
Yeah.
mention that. I feel like I slagged off all the Muppet movies. I do
No, I
think
thought that was good.
I thought that was a good one.
Yeah.
It had good music. And it wins the Oscar, the Brett
Yeah.
McKenzie song.
Yeah.
I thought that was it just occurred to me now that was a good Muppet movie that had a fresh take on it. I don't think it's in the class of these first 3, but I definitely think it's better than the ones that came
I agree.
after.
I agree.
I the one that came after it I thought was kind of just okay. I don't even remember the name of it.
Yeah, it was so.
Yeah, but I like that they keep trying with the Muppets, and Disney owns them. So maybe the good thing about resurrecting IP is that like they're going to keep trying with the Muppets, and that is an area that gives me some comfort. They're like, okay, my favorite meta joke, or one of my favorite meta jokes in this movie is in Lady Holiday's, not her first scene, but the first scene where they kind of get to know her, where she's talking and Piggy says, "Why are you telling me all this?" She goes, "It's plot exposition. It has to go somewhere."
Yeah.
Something I did not get
Yeah.
when I was a kid, and seeing it now, I'm like, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
Because there's absolutely no reason
No.
for her to be saying all this,
Yeah.
and
Giving her all this backstory on her brother and their relationship.
right,
And
but
like,
there is no organic way to do it
No.
other than writing a song about it,
Yeah.
and I think that I'm like, that is, again, I don't know if this can't be the first example of meta, but I think the Muppets helped me understand what meta is. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think my understanding of meta, the first time I heard that term, I can't remember, but I feel like either someone said to me or just internally, I was like, oh, the Muppets. Like how they comment on stuff that's
Yeah.
going on. That's meta.
Yeah.
And,
yeah.
I think that helped me sort of recognize that concept.
And also in that scene, Miss Piggy's portfolio, her fashion shoot portfolio was just it's a subtle thing, but every pose is the same. In those photos, she's flipping through. It's the same pose, different outfit, same pose, same pose, same pose.
Yeah.
Which I found also just like a nice little visual joke.
I want to talk about another human performance that you mentioned a few minutes ago, John Cleese.
Yeah.
So this was something What's funny about this, looking at this now, is that John Cleese is so young. He's like talcum. Like
Yeah,
they talked his hair
they
to
did.
make him
Yeah,
older. And the woman, apologies, I don't know her name, but she's from Faulty Towers, which was a show
yep.
that
I
was
remember watching
like
that show. Yeah,
that. So that scene is really, really funny. I think that's another scene, kind of like the Peter Falk scene, that's just for the grown-ups. Cause it's so even more than Diana
it's
Rigg's character, it's so just like making fun of uptight British people and how boring they are.
and it's slow,
It's
and
so
it's
slow.
as a kid you're like, the hell is happening? Where are the Muppets?
They
What's
do not
going
care about
on?
they do not
No,
care about the kids for the Peter Falk scene and this
no.
scene. They're like, kids, you're on your own.
But it's so funny. It is
Yeah.
so funny, and it was funny watching it with my wife because
Had
she's
she not seen
not.
this movie before?
I don't think she had seen this before.
Oh wow.
And she also is not as well versed with Monty Python and Faulty Towers and the
Yeah.
British comedy as I am.
Right.
And I think I even showed her Holy Grail for the first time
Yeah.
just like a year ago, and
It's so specific.
she thought it was funny, but she's like, why does everybody I know like Monty Python?
Right.
All these people whose sensibilities and senses of humor I really connect with all really love this group.
Right.
I'm not really familiar with it. And we were watching this last night. It took her a minute to realize that it was John Cleese
He looks so different.
because he looks so
And
different.
he's
And
young.
for her,
Yeah.
she knew him mostly as old John Cleese because she wasn't familiar with his younger stuff.
He's like 40 here, maybe.
Yeah, so she was
Maybe
like,
even
"Wow, I
younger.
don't think I've ever seen him that young." And I had to say, "Well, you have. We watched Holy Grail. You saw him,
Right.
young, but like that was a year ago or whatever." So, and they
Yeah.
make him up in a weird way
Yeah,
here.
they make his hair they're aging him up.
They're aging him up.
He's like
Yeah,
about 40
yeah,
here, give or take.
yeah.
So that's young, but his hair is like talked,
Hmm.
So it's like just to make him that much stuffier because
Yeah.
I think it's just like
Oh, it's like the perfect. It's the perfect, completely checked out,
yeah,
repressed.
because their conversation is so
It's
they're just both straight men and their conversation
so
is so
dull.
boring.
Yeah.
It's like I think I'll go to the store today. You went yesterday, Neville. Whatever. I'm not doing the dialogue
Right,
justice,
right,
but
right.
just like it's. I remember being a kid and either being bored or mystified by that and having what like he said a second ago, like where are the Muppets, that whole thing. And then when I got just a little bit older, even if I don't know if I had seen Python yet, but it's just I'm like, oh, okay, this is funny. But it's so dry. Like Grodin, like you described him. Like it's so that's definitely a scene. The folk scene and this
Yeah.
aren't in the movie today.
No, 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 no. Those would clearly be on
Those
the
would be
cutting room floor.
gone, and this
Yeah,
movie would
yeah,
be
yeah, yeah,
10,
yeah,
12 minutes
yeah,
shorter. Um, but just before that, sorry, we're going out of order, but just before that, we get two songs. One, we get a song, I don't know if it's called this, but the Stepping Out with a Star song,
hmm,
which is another banger.
yeah,
Great, great, great song. Great number. Um, might be the song that I associate more with this. This or Hey a Movie, which opens it.
mm-hmm.
Um, um, just again, I'm like, well, I'm watching this movie and I'm like, this is another great song. This is like another great song, another great number. Um, I'm having a good time. It's an earworm, and it's maybe not moving the plot forward, but it's definitely talking about the
Right,
emotions,
yeah.
and yeah, I mean, I just love this song. I don't know what else to say about it. But what's crazy, and I really want to get your take on this for two reasons. Because one, you do children's entertainment, and you're a musician, so I don't know if the next song is called where they're driving the bus to John Cleese's house, and it's just
Oh
that.
yeah, 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 yeah,
It's so different than every other song in the movie. It almost I don't have the musical vocabulary, but it almost
yeah.
sounds like it sounds pretty close to like almost like a again, I don't almost like a punk song. It's like it's
Mm-hmm.
like they're driving the bus and it's just like I'm like scatting it, which is gonna be ridiculous, but it's like
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
just like it's more modern than any of the other music in the movie. It doesn't fit, but I do like it.
My wife and I were talking about the music and the songs in the movie a lot last night about how they had this kind of and the musicals that sort of like the musical style of song is so very specific. They're kind of like
Busby Berkeley
yeah, they're
30s.
kind
Yeah.
of like big and bombastic and,
Yeah.
the orchestrations are really intense.
Yeah.
Whereas, the the song at the hotel is a little more like
Jolly.
in the Muppets ethos where
Yeah.
it's like, it's the band. The band is playing it. Dr.
Your
Teeth. So you've
banjo.
got the
It's
banjo,
yeah,
you've
yeah.
got
That's
drums
interesting.
and piano and bass and guitars where the other things are sort of like these more like big sweeping orchestral things.
Yeah, it is.
Um
That's a good point. It's
so having that moment in the bus when they're driving to me feels like okay, we're kind of that's more grounded in like the late
that's
70s
what I'm
or
saying.
early
It
80s like
felt modern.
yeah,
That
yeah.
song felt like
Right.
something you would hear in 1981.
Yeah, yeah. It's clearly more grounded in the sort of like late 70s uh funk rock kind of
Funk, that's it. Yeah.
roots and it is very different than the other songs, but I think part of that is also to serve a story purpose where it makes Miss Piggy feel really uncomfortable because she's in this bus now
Oh, right. They have
with
her.
yeah, so they've already
They
they've
picked her
picked her
up.
up.
Oh, so it is after the John Cleese scene
Yeah, they've picked her up and they're driving to dinner
at the
and
club, right?
she's just sitting in the cab of the bus with this like what the heck is this kind of look on her face, and I think the music also just helps like push and
Okay,
drive that
I'd
story
forgotten
beat.
that because I watched this a
Yeah,
couple
yeah, yeah.
weeks ago.
Yeah.
Um,
I forgot the exact
no,
circumstance
no, no.
too, but
I thought
it's
they were on
always
the
good to like
way
yeah, yeah, yeah,
to
yeah.
John Cleese's house, but
Yeah.
it makes more sense that they're on their way to the club.
Yeah.
So there's a joke. This movie's filled with jokes that I love,
Yeah.
but there's a joke that I definitely didn't get when I was 6, 7, 8, 9 years old that I get when I was a little bit older, which is Gonzo's walking around taking pictures,
Yeah.
and the guy says, um, "My wife is he's sitting with this older man sitting with this like young beautiful woman, and he says, "My wife is very sick." He says, "Well, she should have stayed at home." Because my wife is at home. And that's like the perfect
Yeah.
example of a joke that's for the adults
Yeah.
that like a kid wouldn't get. It's really funny. It's real kind of like yuck like there's almost like a in all the Muppet movies, but particularly this one, there's almost like a Marx Brothers feel to it. Like it's just like
Mhm.
super broad, but like very like yuck, but funny.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I haven't seen a ton of Marx Brothers movies, but I've seen a few, and I think they're really, really funny.
Oh, they're great.
You
Yeah, I grew
know?
up on Marx Brothers. Yeah.
Right, and you see the influence of Marx Brothers. Like Woody Allen is always talking about how he's always playing either Groucho Marx or Bob Hope,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and just like the one-liners and the irreverence and all that other stuff. So another. So which number is the one that happens in the club? It's not. Is it the first time it happens? Okay, so the one in the club is the first time it happens. That's the one where they're on their date.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's another great song. One thing I wanted to point out about it is that set is just so beautiful, and
Oh,
it's surrounded by
amazing.
mirrors, and
Yeah.
there's just like a lot of passing behind mirrors.
There was some really great camera work.
Just virtuoso
Very
camera work.
inventive.
Yeah,
And reminded me a lot of the opening sequence of Temple of Doom.
yeah, it did. Club
Yeah,
Obi-Wan.
yeah.
And yeah, that's a great point. It looks a lot. I mean, I think that was either how clubs looked in the 30s, which is
Yeah.
what this is evoking, even though it's set in the modern day, or that's how they looked in movies set or made in the 30s.
Right.
But yeah, it's a great point. Club Obi-Wan looks just like this.
Yeah,
this
it made
club.
me think of it, especially with, the whole, all the dancers and everything. Like, I would like to just shout out probably one of my favorite sequences of
Please.
the movie, which is her Miss Piggy's synchronized swimming fantasy. It's just so funny and so over the top and just leans into the genre so heavily with the the double exposure
Yeah.
overlay of Grodin and
Kermit.
and Kermit, like just so much fun. just
Yeah.
so much fun. And like seeing the Muppet, seeing a puppet underwater,
Yeah.
and a lot of inventive stuff there. Some fun reverse shots to make certain choreography work.
Yeah, well, it's Esther Williams,
Yeah,
and that's
yeah,
not something I know a
it's
ton about, but I
so good.
know I learned the reference, and yeah, I think what I love about this movie, and I think this is what I love about the comedies that just I love the most is just the commitment. Comedy's one of those things where we're seeing, if we're even seeing it at all, we're seeing less of it because comedy is, you know, it's so improv heavy and it's so like alt lines and sidekicks. And I think those movies could still be funny, but I
Hmm.
think particularly in this era, like the 80s, the reason why I think the comedies in the 80s, and this movie is a comedy, it's also a kids
Yeah.
movie, it's also a musical. I mean, it does straddle that line. But I do think this is a comedy, and I think the comedies in the 80s really work because you have directors that have such a fetishistic love of the genres that they're emulating, that they're parodying. I mean, this is where we see like sort of John Landis at his best.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know, like
Hmm.
he's really kind of firing on all cylinders here, and of course Jim Henson's of that same school, and yeah. So this is like maybe the crux of my argument of why I think the '80s is such an incredible decade because you're seeing comedy done at such a high level.
Well, it's
So much
interesting.
craft.
Yeah, I think it's. I don't know why this just popped in my head, but I'm just going to make a correlation to the music industry. I think that was kind of a lush time for entertainment across the board.
Everything. You're
So
right.
like there's a lot of money flowing through the studios, and they're willing to take chances on things,
Yeah.
and the same thing happened with music. Like there was just an explosion
Yeah.
of people willing to give bands a platform, and
Yeah.
some great things came of that. And the same thing happened with movies. Like studios were just like, yeah, you want to make a movie about I don't know, the Lady of the Lake throwing a sword to King Arthur? Let's do it.
Yeah.
And it's Excalibur's dope.
Yeah. Same
81,
here.
great movie.
Yeah. And
So
and
like there was a lot of just like,
and people came to see them. I mean,
yeah, yeah,
obviously,
yeah.
there's a piece of this that I think we've talked. I mean, I've talked about on one of these episodes. Forgive me for not knowing which one, but I've talked about how obviously movies are the center of pop culture at this point,
Yeah.
and they aren't anymore, mainly because of the internet. The internet's the center of pop culture, for better or for worse, for better and
Yeah.
worse.
Yeah.
So this is why people don't watch the Oscars in the same numbers as they used to, and it's not a mystery. Movies are not gone. We're at a critical point here, but I think that, I mean, so much was served to audiences and they showed up, and because they showed up, more got served to them. And I think
Right.
music's a great because yeah, I think like I'm not an expert in music, but I lived through this era and there's so much going on musically. Like there's synth pop and there's Michael Jackson and there's heavy metal
Hip
and there's
hop and the rise of hip
hip
hop and
hop
everything.
and there's
So
and there's hard rock and
yeah.
there's Springsteen and there's just like there's, again, I'm not an expert, but I lived through it. There's musical. I think music is a perfect corollary. There's so much. There's something for everyone.
Yeah.
There really is something for, and I think I don't. I would imagine country is still
Hmm.
really going
Yep.
strong. I mean,
Yep.
Dolly Parton's a big deal. I mean, I'm not just. I hate to just make it about Dolly Parton, but she's a cool
I
lady.
mean, I don't mind making everything about Dolly Parton.
Right,
She
Dolly
rules.
Parton's a really cool lady that my daughter even knows. We went to Dollywood, and my daughter was telling me all about how cool Dolly Parton is. He's very cool. I mean, Dolly Parton is awesome. I could do a whole pod about her. But yeah, I think I never thought about that. I think you're the first guest to kind of bring that up. Is that like what's going on in movies in the '80s, which I'm so didactic about? I think it's also going on in music.
Yeah.
I think there's just so much going on, and it's changing. I mean, I think in '81 it's not changing as much, but like we're only 2-3 years from like Duran Duran and Depeche Mode and like
Yeah.
Dead or
And
Alive and all
look,
these bands, and
there's a
Springsteen is still there, and
technology is driving a lot of these things too,
a lot of
because
synthesizers.
more people have cable, and more people
Yeah.
have VCRs, and more,
Yes.
so home video is also driving a lot of this.
Big piece of this.
And now, like, accessibility to music has changed as well. It's, you're getting
Walkmans.
Walkmans and cassettes, and
CDs are
so
a couple years away.
yeah. So I think obviously that all has something to do with it, but
Yeah, it just feels like, we were so little during this time.
we
Um,
were. Speak for yourself. I was a grown ass man.
yeah, I'll take the rest of that, or I'll
Yeah.
take more of that. Um,
Last splash.
that's fine. I never drink red wine unless I'm with Alan Foreman. My wife's gonna be like, "You never drink red wine." This is true. This is the second podcast, and this is our second bottle of wine.
That's what I'm here for.
That's absolutely, yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's so fruitful, just all over the place. Yeah, it's like it's like, and I don't think that's. I mean, it's funny because you look at TV in the '80s, it seems so narrow now,
Mhm.
but we are a couple years away from Miami Vice, which I'll admit is not a great show, but atmospherically, it's very cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
They shot it on location, and that was a new thing. And like, I mean,
I mean, it created a whole a
you
whole
know,
generation of idiot guys dressed like
like
Don
Don Johnson,
Johnson.
yeah. I mean, Miami Vice was like the center of pop culture, and so I
Yeah.
mean, the show's only watchable now because it's like, oh, I mean, you're from a little bit north of there, but
Yeah.
I'm from Miami, so
Yeah.
it's for me, it's a time capsule. It's very cool to see like it's very cool to see like the guest stars who pop up, which is you can see on YouTube the people who
Yeah.
hopped up on that
Oh,
show.
amazing.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Everybody
Yeah.
popped up on that show, big and small. But yeah, there's just something. It's just such a booming time, the '80s, and I'd love to get back to that. And I'm not
Yeah.
saying we never can. I don't want to be like a doom scroller about it. Um, but yeah. So anyway, This is another great moment. Another great number. This in the club, and this is the one you mentioned, the first time it happens, which is
Yep.
nominated for an Oscar.
Yep.
Again, I think every song we've mentioned, with the possible exception of the bus one, should have been nominated for an Oscar. I wrote this down. Charles Grodin's sideburns are coming off my screen. Those sideburns are serious.
They are serious.
They
yeah.
are like thick and low and just coming out. I mean, he looks great, but I don't know. I wrote that down.
It's funny you mentioned Charlie's Angels earlier, because when we get to the heist, the big heist of the baseball diamond,
Yeah,
I was like, oh my God, this is so Charlie's Angels.
Three Beautiful Women.
The Three Beautiful Women. And
Right.
like that was kind of a really, a very clear homage to me with that
Yeah.
with the villains there.
Another joke I like in this movie that's very meta, which always gets a laugh from me. A couple scenes later, where they're in the park, and Piggy says, "I am playing 800 different emotions," and Kermit says, "Well, try playing one of them right."
Yeah.
I thought that was just a great line. Another great line where Piggy says, like, when she gets arrested, it goes, "You can't even sing. Your voice was dubbed."
Oh, right. Yeah, it was very funny.
Yeah, I mean, this movie's
yeah.
so meta, and I can't, it can't be the first one of these, but again, this is a movie that made me understand what that even was. Yeah, and I think I mentioned this a while ago, where Sam comes out and says, "I'm proud to be an American."
Yeah.
What's Sam's deal in the hotel? Like, why is
Yeah,
Sam
I don't
there?
know. Why is he there? What is he doing? He's clearly a permanent resident. If he's proud to be an American, why is he living in England?
I
What's
feel like
happening?
there's a Sam spin-off I almost want.
Yeah, you want to see what happens when he closes the door?
Yeah,
on the
what
other
goes
side of
on
the door?
behind
Yeah.
Sam's door, and
Mhm.
how did he get to London?
Mhm.
Like, there's a reason he's in London. He's either there to kill someone, or he's on the run because he killed someone. Like, Sam's a dark dude. Like,
I think there's clearly some black ops happening there.
yeah, Sam's into some
something's
black
not
ops
good.
stuff
Yeah.
for sure.
I do also want to shout out my favorite. I think it's on the door to Charles Grodin's character's
Yeah.
room.
Yeah.
Nick, irresponsible parasite.
Yeah,
I mean, I love
something I would have never gotten as a kid.
what a great combination of words, and
yeah.
I can't wait to make T-shirts and
That's almost like
or to get that tattoo across my neck. I don't know.
I like that joke. It's almost like a joke out of like an airplane, like a Zucker.
Yeah.
It's
It is
almost
that kind
so
of
broad.
it's that flavor. Yeah.
But I guess it's still meta. what's it called? So another cameo that I didn't appreciate because I didn't know who this guy was is when Peter Ustinov shows up as the
Yeah,
truck
truck
driver,
driver. Yeah,
and then Oscar the Grouch shows up. It's like a
yeah,
very brief cameo. So am I. I
yeah,
just didn't know who Peter Ustinov
yeah, yeah,
was,
yeah,
and so that's something that obviously kind of gained. I don't remember when I don't remember when I saw this movie again after I knew who he was. For people who don't know, Peter Ustinov has won 2 Oscars for Spartacus and Top Cappy, and he's in a bunch of stuff. And
I was
really,
more thrown, honestly, by the Oscar the Grouch
yeah,
cameo than
yeah,
I was like, what?
yeah. Well, I mean, that's to
Why
be
aren't you on
expected.
Sesame Street?
Yeah. Well, that was a crossover, I
I
guess.
know. Yeah.
Um, a line I like where they're at the top of the Mallory Gallery.
Yeah.
I forget who says it, but I wrote it down. It says, I suggest we jump.
Yeah.
It's 100 feet. I didn't say it was a good suggestion.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
That made me laugh. It's fun. I guess the music kind of ends with the first time it happens. Is there a musical song after that? I feel like they kind of just like the numbers kind of stop there. Am I forgetting one?
No, to my recollection,
Because then it's just like
there's
all plot.
then it's all plot because the bulk. It was interesting to me watching it again, realizing how long it took to get into the actual heist part of it, and there's just like I feel like it was. I feel like 2/3 of the movie was just like getting to know the
Yeah.
characters and Miss Piggy and Kermit meeting
Yeah.
and all that stuff before, at a certain point, I found myself wondering, like, there is like a heist, right? There
Yeah.
is like a diamond thing that happens. Like we're gonna do that, right?
The
And, like,
baseball
there's
diamond.
gonna be a caper in the caper, right?
Yeah.
It takes a really long time to get to that.
Yeah.
I think, and I don't remember honestly when I was younger, but I think as a kid maybe that's less noticeable because you're
Mm.
just enjoying the
Yeah.
characters and you're enjoying the songs and
Right.
everything. That it doesn't matter when that there's no no real forward movement with that specific plot. But like as an adult, I found myself being like, huh,
Yeah.
there's a caper, right? There's gonna be a thing.
Yeah,
They're gonna,
I
like,
think you're right. I mean, I think it's maybe it's a small thing to ding it on, but I think like
it's real minor.
it's real minor.
Yeah.
It's very much a musical, and there's what 5 to 7 songs in this. I mean,
Somewhere around there, yeah.
somewhere around
Yeah.
there. And I feel like in an actual musical, there'd be 1, maybe 2 more. There'd
Probably,
be
yeah.
just to kind of like get to like that 9 or 10. But I feel like it kicks into like the plot
Yeah.
and then because the first and third movie, maybe going back to your original point, end with a song.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah,
big musical
end with
number.
all of them singing and like
Right,
a wide shot of
right.
all of them,
And this there ends with them in a theater.
does it? How does this one end?
Yeah, they're in the theater. They're watching. What are they watching?
No, that's the first one.
No, this one ends in a.
No, this ends with them jumping out of the plane. They're in the
Oh,
plane and they get thrown
yeah,
out.
yeah, yeah,
And then
yeah.
they all. So I
Back
wrote
to
down.
America.
I now understand my note. Where do the shoots come from? They all get thrown out of the plane because it pays off the gag from the beginning.
Right,
Where
right,
like
right,
they're
right.
they're flying so cheaply that they don't even get to land. Which is something I always
Right,
think about.
which
Like,
I thought was funny.
yeah, yeah. So this doesn't end. Maybe they sing as they're on parachutes. I can't remember now.
Not that I recall.
Yeah, but it definitely doesn't end with all of them singing together in a large group. That's Muppet Movie and Muppets Take Manhattan, which goes to your original point about how those two feel more like they're part of the same franchise than this one. But again, that's where the Muppets go because the movie after this, which is after Henson's death, is the Muppets Christmas Carol, which is
Right.
just casting, which is literally them plugging them into a story. One I thought was I was like what, like 13 or 14, and I was, my daughter likes it, but that's also her first introduction to the Christmas Carol story.
Right.
So that's, I don't know if ironic is the word. That's the Muppet movie that she's seen the most. I haven't been able to get my kids into it. It isn't that like they've watched it and haven't liked it. I just haven't been able to get the Muppets in front of them.
Hmm.
And I'm of 2 minds about this. And maybe this is a way to kind of like wrap up, is that the Muppets still exist, and I really hope that little kids are finding it and that it's not just 40 and 45 and 50-year-olds watching it. I mean,
Yeah.
that's great that they have that. I hope it do I would love to see a little kid with, like, a Kermit or Piggy lunchbox. That would just but I also had this thing, somebody said that they were worried, somebody our age said that, like, they were worried that our generation was selling our nostalgia to the younger
To you,
generation.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
Stranger Things, my daughter just started watching Stranger Things, and my daughter has seen The Goonies and E.T., and she's really interested in it. Um, but my daughter's 10 years old, so obviously she doesn't have a contemporary relationship with it. Like, I know the 90s is starting to become this thing
Yeah,
that, like, young
they are.
people are interested in,
Yeah,
and that's something else. We were much older in the 90s. We were like, middle school to through college.
yeah.
And so I have a funny relationship with the 80s and the 90s, is that, like, I have a genuine connection to it. I don't know, do you think, I know you don't have kids yet, but, like, do you think the Muppets is something that kids now could enjoy?
I would say maybe the biggest barrier to that would be the puppet angle,
Do you think they don't
because
have any relationship to puppetry?
I think that might be a harder thing
Yeah,
to to bridge.
because there's nothing else that
But
has puppets
but
now,
then again,
right?
like, we've got, here in LA, we have, Bob Baker's, puppet theater, and, like, I know that people love it, kids love it too, but that's marionette, it's a very different kind of thing.
Yeah, this.
So this is, I feel like I was noticing this actually when watching it last night again, was, sometimes in the close-ups, you could really see, the materials of the Muppet, um, which, and I don't know, it's just because I am who I am and paying very close attention to that, sort of
Yeah.
took me out of the magic of it every now and then.
What do you mean the materials, though? Can you
You
explain
could
that?
see, like, the foam, you could
Right.
really make out the foam, and you could see where the eyes were not quite, attached perfectly or whatever it was.
I mean, you're also watching it, just to defend it a little bit, now that you're attacking it,
No.
you're also watching it in HD,
Yeah, I'm watching it on, like, a really high
which
definition
which
television,
which was
which is
not
a very
something
different thing.
anybody
No.
could have possibly
No, 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 no.
envisioned back then.
The thing, I think the humor would still work for kids. I think the silliness and the wackiness would still work for kids. I think the only thing that I would, maybe raise a yellow flag about would be, the puppetry of it all, because so much of the children's entertainment that is consumed by those age groups is CG, and I feel like that's something that's just like, it's a difficult visual language to break.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm again very curious to see this new one, and see how that's. I've heard it's good,
Yeah.
and it's cool that Sabrina Carpenter's involved, because obviously it's like having somebody, like that's a way in for my
It's a
daughter.
great way in.
Yeah.
I'm stoked they're doing it, and I can't wait to check it out. I feel bad that I probably should have watched it before we got together to
No, I
talk
should have
about
also.
the Muppets, but, like,
I want to watch it with my kids, though. Like, I want
yeah,
to
yeah,
see if
yeah,
I could.
yeah.
I think I could get it in front of my daughter, and I think, because my daughter is not. She's watched things this old and
Yeah.
older. Like, I took her to see E.T. I took her to see Jaws 3D. She's seen Jaws 1, 2, and 3. So she's seen things older. She's watched Mary Poppins. Um, she likes Sound of Music, and we're gonna do Sound of Music on the show together at some
Great,
point.
great.
So my daughter is not. She's her father's daughter in that she likes things that are older. She likes things that are contemporary also. Um, so I feel like I got a better chance of getting in front of her than maybe my son. But um, you know, I love the Muppets, but it's also so much. I talking about this movie with you, you know, I definitely like this on its own merits, and I like it as an adult, like I liked it as a kid. But I also have a nostalgic. I mean, this is the first movie I ever saw in
Right,
the theater,
right.
and I only know that information anecdotally from my mother. So this is a very very special movie, and this is, I don't imagine there's going to be a ton of children's fare that I'm going to be covering on this show. I might be covering some things that are PG
Sure.
that are okay, but this is I don't think off the top of my I mean, definitely not any best picture winners because
Right.
most of those are not for kids.
No.
Even the ones that happen to be PG, like a Kramer versus Kramer, is still very,
Still
very
very
adult.
much for adults.
Right.
Yeah. Look, I love the Muppets, even though for me, I think I prefer the first and third Muppet movies just slightly more
Yeah.
than this. Like, it's still really funny. The songs are really great.
Yeah.
The set pieces are really well done.
Mm.
It's still just like a really enjoyable movie. And I had a great time rewatching it and I laughed and it was, it was everything you would have wanted.
Yeah, this one's my favorite. I love Muppet Movie, Muppets Take Manhattan. I think it's a great trilogy, even though they don't
Hmm.
cohere. I totally get your take on it, but I just feel like as far as like a franchise,
Yeah.
even if each of them was like a one-off, I really feel like of the many things, you know, Jim Henson's loss is so tragic. I don't know if
Yeah.
you
I
remember.
do.
He
I
died the
do.
same day as Sammy Davis Jr., who I really didn't know who he was,
I know. Yeah.
but Jim Henson was 53.
Yeah. He died really young.
And
Yeah.
he died of pneumonia or a
Yeah.
cold or
Yeah.
and it was just so senseless, and it wasn't even anything like. I really do wonder. I highly recommend you checking out Ron Howard's
I
documentary.
will. Yeah.
I think it's on Disney Plus. You especially will dig it.
Yeah.
I appreciated it. You will relate to it in a way that I can't, as somebody who, as an artist. I liked it, but you will appreciate it. I strongly recommend you and anybody who likes Henson, because it gets into, there's no like horrible darkness, but it does get into the man and sort of what was going on with him. Again, there's no like horrible thing, like, and then he did this, but I think it's a great documentary, and I think it sort of reignited, like, oh yeah,
Like
Jim
an interest.
Henson.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, really just a singular talent, just an influential talent, and yeah, I think I like this movie the best because it plays to my particular sensibilities of movies that I like. I like heist movies. I'm an Anglophile. I love Diana Rigg. I love Charles
Yeah.
Grodin. So for me, the songs are just banging. I really feel like there's great songs in the first Muppet movie.
Yeah.
Rainbow Connection's nominated for an Oscar as
Yeah.
well.
Great
There's
song.
great songs in the third one. I think if you just made a playlist of all the songs from the three Muppet movies, it would be an incredible playlist. Why I haven't done that yet, I don't know. I'm gonna do
All
that
right,
tomorrow.
get on it. I'm expecting a link. So,
Yeah, no,
geez.
absolutely. But so I feel like for me, this is the peak of children's entertainment. This is one of the best musicals. I just love this movie, and I think you know it's fun to talk about it on this platform I've created for myself, because it's obviously not a Best Picture winner, but even in these 1981ers, you know, it's so different even from them.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's it's so different from Modern Romance and Blowout
Well, but like what a
and
wildly broad scope of movies in
yeah,
1981.
that's
So
what I'm saying.
like to me it fits perfectly because you
Yeah.
have such great examples of any genre you can think
Yeah,
of
I
here.
mean, there's so much going on, and we're not going to cover all of them, at least
Yeah.
not now. I think the 81 series is something that I will pick up and put down throughout the life of this podcast. I'm not going to try and get them all in this second season, which is already going to be double the size of the first season. And I'm going to see things from 81 that I haven't seen before. I have some gaps, as all, as even.
Oh, yeah. I mean, my list of, because I went through the releases of that year too, as I do with whenever we have these conversations, and like I was blown away by how many good movies.
Yeah.
My list is 30 some odd long.
Yeah.
And so now it's inspired me to been, I've seen, of the 30 some odd I wrote down, I've seen pretty much all of them,
Right.
but there's a couple there that I don't think I've seen.
Yeah, me too.
And it kind of makes me want to just do the exercise and be like, all right, let's run down the list here.
Yeah, and I think the 80s, to kind of close out, there are a lot of years in the 80s where you could do that.
Right.
You could do it in 81 and 82. You could do it in 84. You could do it in 86, 7,
87, it's huge year.
88,
Yeah.
89. You know,
Yeah.
that's most of them.
That's most of them.
which isn't to say the
Yeah.
other years aren't good, but I think like it's just such a rich decade. And again, I really find it almost criminal how it's dismissed as unserious just because it's got such incredible work on either side of it.
Right, right,
Because the 70s are, the greatest movies ever made.
right.
And the 90s, which we lived through, is like great indie movies,
A
great studio
rebirth
movies.
in a way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we lived through that. So like the 90s is going to be an equally emotional experience, but maybe, linked to a slightly newer nostalgia because I was
Yeah.
much older. So Alan, where can people find you if they want to find you?
They can find me on Instagram at Cougatz, Cougatz. That's my personal account. I also have an account at Alan Foreman Animation, which is supposed to be my professional one, but I really don't update that much at all. I'm also a musician. You can find me on pretty much any music streaming app or platform. 16:9. That's 16:9. And yeah, keep an eye out. The show I'm working on, I have no idea when it's going to come out. As soon as I know, I'll let you know so everyone can go check it out. But yeah, in the meantime, you can still watch Baby Shark's Big Movie on Paramount Plus.
Yeah.
Which was my first feature directing gig, and honestly, like it's a real good movie.
Yeah.
It's really good. As I know, everyone is like, "Oh, Baby Shark, the song,"
Yeah.
but a lot of heart, a lot of comedy. It's a good watch.
Yeah. You can find me on Instagram and Letterboxd, both Edward Clow. I don't know if I mentioned this. I'm recording these out of order, so I'm going to mention this now. I have a list of 1981 movies ranked. Great Muppet Caper is on there, so you could see my rankings and all the movies, some of which we will cover, some of which we won't. You can also check me out on Vimeo. I have some short films I've made there. If you have any questions, you can shoot me an email at hindsightingquestions@gmail.com. If I get enough of those, I'll do like a mailbag episode. That's it for this episode. Alan, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me back. Real pleasure. Happy to come back any old time.
Next episode, we return to our best pictures as Matthew Scott Weiner and I discuss the best picture of 1984, Amadeus. Till then, looking forward to looking back.